Okay, super.
Okay.
John,
Right. Hi, Laurent.
good morning. I mean, look, it's great to have the discussion now for our auditors on
Yes.
Tech Care Europe. Maybe coming back to the discussion we just had, it's great to have you in Paris. You know,
Yeah, thank you very much.
obviously, scale up across Europe is important, which
Yeah.
means with UK, maybe share with us a bit why for you it was important to be here in Paris, in Hôtel Dieu for these 2 days discussion.
So I came here because I thought that we are not a sort of an isolated unit. The UK is obviously a much bigger space, and it's really interesting to learn from other areas what they're doing and where the direction of travel is. That then informs the strategy that we put in within our ICB, and also it's a good place to horizon scan and see what's out there and think, okay, I really like that. Let's have a go at that. Can we entice them to come and work with us and see what we can do and how we can move things forward?
That's actually very interesting, and I build on this question. If I put myself in the shoes of a startup, maybe at the stage of scaling up, how do I approach NHS? How do I get in touch with you? And behind that, of course, also my question is, what are maybe some areas where you see opportunities for starting?
So I think, well, it's a very good question because the NHS can be, I think, quite confusing if you're approaching, as a startup. Where do I start? I think I would try and form relationships. I'd actually probably start at an ICB level initially, try and find who are the leaders in that digital space within the ICB, have a look at what their digital strategy is, because that's very informative. And if you look at things like Health Tech News, you can have a look in there, you can see who's moving forward at pace within the NHS system. You can also reach out to the national teams, but if you go to a local team leader, then they can kind of plug you into that. It's also the health innovation networks, which which will bring products on, companies on to go in place. They'll find you a place to sit within an ICB, so you can then develop your product there.
And maybe also to be explicit, you were mentioning ICB for our auditors who might not know what it is.
So basically, about 3 or 4 years ago, the government decided to rearrange how health care was delivered. They brought social care, primary care, community care, and secondary care together in what's called an integrated care system. The integrated care board run the integrated care system. So my role is as a chief clinical information officer to give that clinical input and strategy within our integrated care system, and try and bring those bits together and have a strategy that makes sense across the system rather than being siloed in all the little bits of the system, which is how it's been in the past.
Okay, and if people are a bit lost, I mean, they can also reach out to you to be directed to the right place.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I'm very happy to sort of help and direct where I can if it's appropriate. I think I think the NHS is really keen to develop and take on technology, but I think you need to be very focused. You need to see, well, what is the focus? Yeah. So productivity, and then what's the clinical focus? So each ECB will have their own thing, but inequalities, cardiovascular, those are all good things. Also, just that patient management, patient flow, and then I think we were talking earlier a little bit about sort of biopharma and development of new processes, new ways of treating people. And there's been a long history of collaboration between the NHS and pharma in developing products and supporting that implementation. So that's another area that has opportunities for, I think.
This is very helpful. I like your point of focus, and I think the list of priorities you mentioned are also very helpful. Maybe moving to today meeting here, where we move from yesterday was a lot of focus on AI in drug discovery, AI imaging. Today they're going to be a lot more focused on patient care, which are B2C apps service for different disease. Also, obviously the patient care, acute care, what can be done at the hospital. So what are your expectations for the day, or maybe the topics you'd like to discuss?
Well, I think what would be interesting to have a look at where people think the direction of travel is. I mean, I have a very firm view about where I think our direction of travel is, and it'd be interesting to see, is that reflected across Europe and in the US. I mean, I think we've all got the same issues. This is the aging population, the cost of care, etc., etc., etc. So, how are different systems addressing those issues, and what can we learn from that as a system we can put into our system? Say, okay, well, that's a great idea. Well, let's focus on that. seems to me that there's some massive productivity gains that we can make. AI, I think, is going to be very helpful as a clinician myself, supporting my decision making. I think the issue with AI at the moment is that there's a disconnect between the clinician and their understanding of AI and its abilities and its issues, and the suppliers who are giving us these products and saying, oh, it's fantastic. And so quite an education piece which needs to go on to get us to the level where we can really, truly implement in a safe way those products.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because if you remember yesterday, the lady Valerie in charge of AI imaging Sentinel for APHP, she mentioned this topic of training the doctors or training the healthcare professional as something really important to enable AI to spread properly across the system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm recently taken a role as a clinical safety officer, and so I'm looking at some products and having to sort of sign them off, and it really focuses your mind on, is this really safe? Because one of them is an autonomous use of AI in a diagnostic space, which I think, if it got through, would be the first use case in Europe of this particular product. And you have to look at, is it validated? Is it really validated? Are the patient group that they've used, is that equivalent to our patient group? So it's complicated.
Well, it's going to be an exciting discussion today. I really look forward to it. And John, thanks again for being here.
Pleasure. Nice.